Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. If you have blood sugar issues and you're looking to finally resolve them, I would love to work with you. Please go to bloodsugarcoach.com, put in your information, and you'll be able to book a free 30-minute session with me. And we can see how I can help you. I have personally resolved my own type 2 diabetes. I am no longer a diabetic, and I did so with natural medicine. In the last 6 years, I've gone on to help a lot of people to also completely resolve their blood sugar issues so that they now have normal blood sugar. So if you'd like to no longer have blood sugar issues, please go to bloodsugarcoach.com. That's bloodsugarcoach.com. I look forward to working with you and enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 290. I'm so excited to have on the show Candice Kumai, who's the author of Kintsugi Wellness, the Japanese art of nourishing mind, body, and spirit. I've had a lot of fun following Candice, a lot of amazing videos on YouTube. She makes cooking simple, delicious, nourishing, healthy meals that are really quick, a lot of fun, and easy to learn on YouTube. So definitely want to check her out. Of course, links to everything that Candice does is going to be the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com. Candice, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ashley. How are you?
I am so excited to finally have you on the show. You know, it was just like one of those scheduling things going back and forth and getting everything organized, and we got you on the show.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Totally. And our tech problems.
The listeners don't even know all the behind the scenes stuff, and it's perfect because now we're here. And like I said, I've enjoyed following you on YouTube and finding some fun videos of you on like talk shows making sushi, and you just do some really delicious, simple things. You have a great story, and I want to jump into your story first because I know the listeners always looking for what they could do, just something, what are the small, simple things that they could do that can make profound impact in the long term into their wellness. These little kind of these habits that we can begin to adapt. Something as simple as, how could we play around with, getting more vegetables in our life in a fun and easy way, right? And so you have this beautiful book, and you have this great story, and I want to jump into it. But I know you are full of a wealth of wellness knowledge and information. So really excited for my listeners to learn from you today. What happened in your life that had you want to become this wellness expert and author?
Thanks, Ashley. I really appreciate your compliments too. You are so kind, and I love your interest and your genuine, authentic interest in stories and helping other people to reclaim their health through food. So I am a professionally trained chef, classically trained, from a Le Cordon Bleu program. I've cooked on the line for many years. I'm probably the most well known for my cookbooks, for being a judge on Iron Chef America, going on the Dr. Oz show, Today Show, Wendy Williams, and also Top Chef first season. I think that my love of food came from watching my Japanese bachan, that's my grandma, and my Polish grandma, my babcia. I learned from them cooking when I was young. And then I watched my very talented and humble and graceful Japanese mother raise my sister and I through her. She used her Japanese traditions in the US with California produce, and she cooked like the best meals I've ever had in my entire life. And as you know, Ashley, like when we're kids, we're not taking notes on what our mom is making. And yes, she made sushi when we were little. It was awesome. But I thought that was all normal. Like you don't know any different. And yeah, I know, right? Sushi, soba, udon, tempura, karaage, you name it. We had that growing up. So when I got older, I did enroll myself into culinary school post college, and I cooked on the line at many restaurants. I got punted onto the first season of Top Chef. I have been through a lot of struggles from the time after Top Chef, from LA to my move into New York. And I've now been a writer in New York City for over 8 years. And it has been a painful roller coaster ride of 6 books, magazine editing, producing, writing, directing. But mostly, I think I found my niche and my path when I started helping other people learn how to cook better and live a better life with really simple solutions that everyone can do. So, for instance, my cookbook, Clean Green Drinks, really helped people to perfect their basic smoothie from a sugar bomb into something that was full of nutrition and tasted like a milkshake.
Ooh.
So it was like upping, yeah, like the nutrition count, lowering the sugar. And as we said in that book in particular, I wrote it while I was on the masthead also at Shape and Men's Fitness Mag, before that Men's Health and Women's Health magazines. We said that your life could change with the push of a button. So we were always trying to find more realistic ways and approaches for the American consumer and now the global consumer to improve their life with no BS. Like, I'm talking just real resources that you can do at home. Like, indeed, I want you to eat more vegetables and fruits. I have a rule of thumb where every meal of my day has to include something fresh in it, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And then I also try to drink as much water. I drink matcha tea now instead of coffee. And I go to bed early now instead of staying up late. And I work, from 6 a.m. until about, I'd say, 8 p.m. or so every night. And I prioritize my body and my mind and my emotional as much as my physical health together as one by meditating and working out almost every single day. And I take my writing and my books very seriously. So I want you to all know that my latest book, Kintsugi Wellness, is based on my ancestors' Japanese practices, in which I use their practices from the ancient world, and they help me to thrive now in a modern world. So my writing evolved from green smoothies and clean eats and Dr. Oz and the Today Show to studying with the monks in Asia, writing alongside with my ancestors, learning about miso paste, sushi, soba, somen, ramen, all the things that I grew up with sort of came back full circle. And after a very rough time in New York City post breakup, after my bachan, my Japanese grandmother, passed away, um, it took me 3 years to write this book while she was passing away. And the book is an homage to my family's heritage. And I now take wellness very serious in a different format where I want everyone to learn the same Japanese practices that I learned: kintsugi, kaizen, gambate, gaman, wabi sabi. They translate to things like always do your best, continuously improve, everything is perfectly imperfect, with great resilience and endurance, or just being of better service to others. So, although my life is not perfect, and now in the digital era, socially, like all those fun YouTube videos that you watch look fabulous, but man, there was a lot of pain and suffering, and there was a lot of struggle that came with writing the last 6 books. So I always didn't feel like I fit in because of the Asian heritage I grew up with, and my parents are both immigrants. My father actually came over to the US on a boat from Poland, and my mother, who married my father when he was in the US military, he was stationed in Yokosuka in Japan near Tokyo, and my mom was a school teacher in Tokyo. So they met in Japan, and then they came back to the US and got married and had my sister and I. And I always felt disconnected or like I didn't fit in And so I kept trying to write all these clean eating books that were really brilliant and so beautifully well done, and they helped thousands of people. But Ashley, they were not my truest calling. And finding myself and finding my true voice meant being broken, having to pick up the pieces on my own, put them back together, much like the tome of Kintsugi, which means sealing and repairing with a lacquer and golden powder, like the ancient Japanese did. The object or the person is then foreseen as more beautiful with their golden cracks. So that is really why I wrote the last book as a wellness and heritage combined would be wellness.
Well, niche.
So a wellness and heritage book, I didn't think that would ever be my calling, but I was so attracted to learning from the monks, to learning from the elderly, learning from those who survived war, who escaped death. These were the people that taught me what real wellness was. So I was just so thrilled that you were out there already spreading the message of good health and true wellness, because this is exactly what everybody needs to be hearing is we can all help to prevent disease together, and cooking is the greatest resource that we all have to improving our lives. So that is what I'm here for in a nutshell.
Beautiful. I love it. So, when you started diving into your heritage to find wellness habits
Yeah.
really create and sustain longevity, because we know the Japanese are well known for their longevity, their lower rates of disease than the ones that don't eat the American diet. Let's just the Japanese
Yeah.
that don't give into the American lifestyle that's spreading around the world are healthier, are stronger. I mean, not to get stereotypical, but Japanese are known for being, on average, smarter. Smarter. If it's a stereotype and it's a compliment, is that still, I don't know, is that still a stereotype? But anyway,
They
right?
may have their egos explode.
Well, no, but they're also so humble.
It's true. But yeah, the only thing is, Ashley, is because the country has no natural resources, no oil,
Mm,
no tobacco, no, whatever it is, they had to use their brain power. A country the size of
mm.
California did not have any other options but to study harder and to work harder and work with Kaizen, which is always continuously improving. Yeah, that's why they work so incredibly hard.
I love that. Now, when I think about modern day Japan, I think of men who work so hard they like die on the job. They never take any time off. I don't think of balance and wellness when I think of modern Japan. But you're saying look back to what the ancestors did, what your grandparents did, what your of course what I just, described modern Japan isn't like every single person, but we sort of hear about people basically pushing themselves to the brink of breaking, and that's obviously not going to be the wellness advice we're taking today. But there's something from your grandparents, great grandparents, and even previous generations, because they honed in what to do, not only around in the kitchen and at the dinner table, but in every aspect of their life so that they could maintain health. When you started studying this, what was the thing that surprised you the most, or what habit that you started to implement that just shocked you was so effective?
That's a really great question, Ashley. There's not one thing in particular, but I can try to tell you what I think is the most standout. Um, I had always known that I was a hard worker and I was very persistent and I kept going, but I didn't really realize that continuous improvement through Kaizen with great integrity was actually a Japanese practice until, I turned 36 and I said, "Oh my gosh, like why am I working harder than everyone else?" And my sister, who's also my older sister in London, runs her own cycling shop out there, and both of us will not stop working because we're never actually really satisfied. So the Japanese practice continuous improvement through the tome of Kaizen, not because they want to, how do you say, profit more or work better or harder or smarter, but because it's just an instilled practice within each person. It's part of normal everyday life there. So I also found that the Japanese were quite resilient. And when I studied the 2011 earthquakes, I saw them line up. They didn't complain. They didn't cry. They didn't scream. They didn't beg. They were very tolerant and resilient, and they endured with great pain internally. And that's the Japanese practice of gaman. When I also started really understanding the Japanese as a whole culture, a homogeneous culture, you were never really supposed to stand out in Japan. They wanted everybody to always be the same as a group culture. And so, as a Japanese American, I realized that I could write a book about the Japanese practices that I was raised with because I am Japanese American. A Japanese person would not necessarily think that these are special or different. So when I learned of wabi sabi, the celebration of imperfection, which is also the name of my podcast, because growing up in California, half Japanese, half Polish American, with all white and Hispanic friends, I just never felt like I ever fit in. So a lot of us have these identity struggles when we're little, or we get teased, or we don't know why we're not like everyone else. Maybe we just don't fit in, or maybe we simply don't want to fit in. But whatever the case, learning that everything is perfectly imperfect and accepting flaws as part of life and embracing the struggle, embracing our differences, embracing what some may say is not beautiful. That is the practice of wabi sabi. And when I studied wabi sabi, we learned that the practice really dates back to the time of war when death was around the corner and the Japanese people were suffering and they needed something to give them a sense of comfort. And that's how we welcomed wabi sabi, because in a sense we needed a glimpse of reality or a dose of it at that, in saying that, like, not everything is supposed to be perfect. And now with all the podcast listeners and readers of Kintsugi Wellness and Wabi Sabi, I've written a book that sort of allows for everyone to let go a little bit more. Just let go and let your heart and your soul and your mind and your spirit be free from all expectation, because the American lens is not the only lens that we can look through life with. We can also see life through a different lens, whether it be Japan or Ayurveda, or maybe it's, all of our ancestors that we find in across Europe, or maybe it's our Hispanic ancestors. Maybe, you're coming from a place of the ancient times and you're practicing some ancient practices that your ancestors once taught you. It could come from anywhere. I kept thinking of the different places that I've traveled to over the years, and I'm almost always drawn back to Japan because that's my heritage. But what I also wanted to do in writing this book was open up a new window to wellness where every person, whether they be American, Japanese, European, Asian, African, Hispanic, Latin, Jewish, it doesn't matter where you're from. You can be purple. I really don't care. This is for everyone. I want you to all see life through different perspectives. And I want you to embrace where you come from. Because if we don't tell the stories of our ancestors' practices, we will surely lose them. And so one of the biggest surprises finding freedom through the pages of you allowing me to tell these stories from my heritage and you accepting them also was probably so surprising. The book has now been picked up in 9 different countries across the world. And I am so honored and inspired. But I also, Ashley, come to the realization again of wabi sabi. Everything is perfectly imperfect still.
That's so beautiful. We get so caught up in our own
Yes.
turmoil. We get so kind of like righteous and caught up in our own problem.
Mhm.
And I love what you said about the lens, cuz they say the
Mm,
most important thing you can do is travel outside of the social circles that you travel in, and whether it's traveling to a different part of your own country or traveling, to a different country or a different continent, on experiencing seeing life through those different lenses, because you come home and your belief system's broadened, and
yes. Yeah.
somehow you're like, as a kid, we used to go to, so I'm Canadian, and Canadians
Oh, I couldn't tell, Ashley.
Canadians love going to Mexico, love going, love going to beaches, right?
Right.
It's a big deal to us in Canada to go to Mexico. And I remember driving through sort of the countryside outside of Puerto Vallarta and seeing people, like whole families that live in basically these tin huts with chickens running around outside, and no running water, no, like, barely having electricity. And
Mm,
as a kid, my mom didn't have to, like, even point it out. Like, I would just see it and it would really hit me. Like, I would go home so appreciative of what my parents gave me, and I'd go home humbled and thankful and grateful. And
right.
I'd look at these people, and these sometimes I'd play with these kids, in Mexico, and in the streets or on the beach,
Right.
and they were happy. Some of these cultures are the happiest people.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with you in every way. Yeah. There is no other way for you to experience that other than to just immerse yourself into the culture.
In your book, do you have any practices that help people to find joy and find happiness? I know you talked about how the Japanese are so resilient emotionally, to have gone through what they went through with World War II and with the earthquakes and with, the more recent things with the tsunami. And I keep thinking about the ongoing stress around repairing from, because that can take years to repair from such travesty, and they're just so strong, but they're finding ways to become happy again. I'd love for us to take a page
Yeah.
out of that book, how to be able to, in the face of either past trauma or current upset in life, to, like, let it be a water off a duck's back and find joy and happiness now while we rebuild our life, or while we go and, to the next level in our life, instead of wallowing.
This is a really great question because it pertains to absolutely everybody who is breathing right now, which means it's you. Okay, so I wrote the book Kintsugi Wellness because I was in New York City. I'm a writer, journalist, chef here. I write, produce, direct books, TV, mags, publishing, media, food, wellness, you name it. I'm an advisor to many different brands, and I had signed 60 different branding deals from 2011 till now with my agency, and I still wasn't happy. I had a relationship that was broken. My ex traumatized me by leaving me with a 30-minute notice and heading out, buying a ticket behind my back the day before my book Clean Green Eats came out. He showed up to our apartment one day and he told me he was leaving, and I got 30 minutes. And it was just the most bizarre thing that I had ever experienced somebody else doing without being mindful that the way that they were leaving was super traumatizing. There's really no other way for me to put it. I mean, this is just me being very black and white. So he leaves me, and I have a trip to Japan planned. I had to go through the launch of my book, Clean Green Eats, while being completely heartbroken. And I did it because I was on autopilot and my life may have still looked perfect to other people. I don't know. But I had severe depression and trauma after that whole experience. And I had to go and say goodbye to my grandmother next in Japan, watch my mom lose her own mother, which is one of the most painful experiences I think that anyone can go through, is losing a parent. And I was just there for them. And I didn't know what the heck my next book was going to be on, because at this point I was shocked and I was like a zombie almost. And so I can imagine feeling bogged down, tired, depressed, just not full of life. This is probably how a lot of those Japanese businessmen do feel. And so when I started studying more on my heritage, I came across the practice of kintsugi. And kintsugi is the Japanese art form of golden repair. And I know we mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but what it is an object that is foreseen as more beautiful after it's been broken and put back together. So it's not really the actual object that is really prized, it's more of the golden cracks that make the object look more glittering, more valuable, more beautiful, and more resilient than ever before. And the golden cracks are the work that we do on ourselves. So when people ask me how I'm doing, and they have over the last few years since that time in my life, I often tell people, hey, I'm working on this, or I'm working on, my health or my mental health or my sleeping patterns, or I'm working on my anger, or I'm working on my sadness. And I'm always constantly telling people, no, I'm not dating anybody because I'm working on myself. Like it would be really easy for me, Ashley, to fall in love with some new guy, right? And just sweep all the pieces that were broken under the rug. And instead of doing that, I decided to take each piece and start putting it back together with that mending and sealing and healing. And then eventually, whether it's the angels, God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, maybe the Japanese believed it was the artists or the monks, somebody would dust all of that with gold. And I believe that my heart has truly sealed and healed. And I would too then be foreseen as more beautiful after doing the work. And so that's why I wrote Kintsugi Wellness, because it was a guide for anybody who is going through trauma, sadness, anger. Maybe you just feel stuck. Maybe you are going through a health crisis and you need some help. Maybe just like those bogged down Japanese businessmen who have overworked themselves, maybe they can look to the practice of kintsugi in finding a way to see a light in the darkness, acknowledging that both must exist in order for one to see the other, and to work through our problems instead of just sweeping everything under the rug or maybe discarding it, right? A lot of people just get rid of stuff so quick. And I believe that my job as a writer and journalist is now to really help to share the message as a messenger between Japan and the US, or just the world. I know we all have a lot of work to do. I know how hard it is to do the work and the time that it takes. But my God, I am a better person. I never believed it. My father told me after the breakup, when I was in shambles and tears, I could barely lift my head up. He said, Candice, I need you to get back to work. You are going to come out of this better. And I thought he was joking. Ashley, there was no way that my mind was even in a place where I could believe him. And as a man who had served in the military for the US and worked hard for his family and raised his daughters with grace and love, I'm sure somewhere inside of him, he hurt watching his daughter get broken up with and left in that manner. But I know because my mother and my father are very strong and intelligent individuals. I know that they raised us to be better than that. And some of us are handed a deck of cards that may not seem easy or fair or good. And it took me years to realize that I was sitting on a gold mine, no pun intended. But all the teasing and the feeling different and never fitting in was actually my golden ticket, no pun intended again. But they call me the golden girl of wellness, and I don't know why everything always comes back to that. But um, while I'm tearing up over here, what I'm trying to explain to people is like you may think it is the end of your rope, the end of your story. You may feel that you are at a complete loss in many parts of your life. And I wrote the book so that it could help others. And I would not be doing diligence if I didn't get this time with you to share with you how incredibly important you are to others and how much I care about your mental health and your physical and emotional health. All of it encompassing together is so important for you to take care of yourself. And there is a Japanese tome in the book also called Kyotsukete, and it refers to pay attention and take great care. So sometimes we need to call to attention. If you're not getting enough sleep, enough water, if you're not working out, if you're not eating fresh fruits and vegetables, these are really simple things that we know work. And they're simple. And you can do them.
For those people who like they know they should drink more water, but they just don't, or they know they should, eat more vegetables, but they keep catching themselves not doing it. What tips, tricks, or tools or advice can you give us so that we can start to implement the things we know we should be doing?
Oh, I mean, it's so hard to fall off the wagon. And for me, I always fall off whenever I travel because my job requires me to constantly be in LA, in New York, in Japan, in London, in Paris, or wherever I'm going. I like to go off the grid sometimes. So I think it's easiest to try to be very realistic with your goals. So just like carry around an extra water bottle with you to work, double down on your water, schedule in your workout, do it with a friend, hold yourself to it, eat plenty of salads like for any meal of the day. You're always going to need more greens. They help with brain health, they help with optimum, function for your eyes, for all your senses. You're going to look better and feel better when you have higher nutrition content in your food. And I think it's just pushing yourself to make really simple changes and try to stick to your goals, but also like be realistic, like wabi sabi. Like it's not going to be perfect. We may not all get to look like Cindy Crawford every day. So, who is still looks fabulous. And, we may not all have the opportunity to be perfect, but we can certainly change things to improve ourselves continuously every day, a small bit at a time.
I love the philosophies in your book. I mean, to kind of hold that dichotomy in mind of wabi sabi, and then what was that other one where it's like always striving, always to be better?
Oh, always do your best is gambate.
So gambate
And
and wabi sabi
yes,
together, it's like always do your best, but you're never going to be perfect, and that's okay.
I know. When we were writing the book together, one of my editors here in New York was like, "Isn't this like conflicting though? Like, I don't get." And I'm like, "Yes, but no."
It's so
Because,
human.
yes, exactly. It's like give yourself a beat, understand that cracks, scars, smile lines, wrinkles, whatever it is, like I the best way for me to put this is in an analogy for people is like when you buy a leather jacket, when you buy new Chuck Taylors, they look way better than when they're slightly beat up. And that's a way to look at like, yeah, like the perfectly imperfect nods to wabi sabi. It takes a little wear and tear for things to be cool. It's true though, right? Like if things were that perfect, would we really appreciate them?
I'm coming back to like thinking about when people are on a wellness mission, their health might be in the gutter, or they might have sort of healed and now they're kind of in maintenance mode, but whatever. I think we're so quick to beat ourselves up. We're so quick to focus on the negatives. We're so quick to, try to just comfort ourselves by numbing ourselves with drugs or alcohol or food.
Mhm.
And like you said, and like don't sweep it under, don't throw it away or sweep it under the rug or numb it, right? Because I think we do
Right.
that. We look to numb the pain instead of heal it with the gold, right? With like, and
Yes.
I heard about this tradition in Japan. I think it was like a Facebook video where they said, if a vase breaks, they don't just throw it out, right? Like I know in my
Yeah.
household, we would have absolutely anything that broke that was glass or that was ceramic, we would just throw out. But that in Japan that they pour that beautiful gold in and then put it back together. Now it's more beautiful than ever. Is such a metaphor for who
Yeah.
we are inside, and that so every time you look at it you go, that's me, because I have been broken in the past and
Right.
I am stronger and better. Or if you feel broken now, you can rejoice in the process of gluing yourself back together rather than feeling like you're dragging yourself through the mud while doing it.
Yeah, and you absolutely have to look to these metaphors from ancient times as a reflection of who you are now in modern day. Because it goes to show all of us that we are all only human and that everyone struggles. Everyone has healing and sealing to do. And we absolutely are all vulnerable. And when we share our stories of struggle and vulnerability, bingo, you will absolutely open yourself and your heart up to others, which will in turn help you to heal. If I didn't have other mirrors, if I didn't have all the women and some men even come forward to me and talk to me about their stories, oh my God, I don't know where I wouldn't even feel like I fit in on the planet. But I had so many people start sharing their pain, their honorable struggles, and their past stories. And again, like my dad said, like they ended up coming out of it better. Even if it doesn't seem like it right now, I can promise you this book actually was so cathartic for me. It was like a documentation of me being able to heal. And I feel really grateful actually that I'm over that time. I feel 1,000 times better, but it doesn't mean my life is perfect. There are still days where I really struggle, but it's getting better. It really does get better. And I want everybody listening to know that you are certainly not alone in your struggle.
When the Japanese set out to create a balance in health, what
Hmm.
habits do they do that Americans have no idea that they do, that we could start doing today?
So, one thing that Americans don't have in their everyday traditional diet is fermented foods. And in Japan, we utilize things like natto, soy sauce, miso paste, and other tsukemono, like uh, fermented pickled veggies, throughout the course of the day and diet. So, one thing I encourage Americans to do in order to keep your gut and your mind and your emotions very healthy is to have more fermented foods. So, I use soy sauce to season all my foods. I use a pat of miso paste in my mac and cheese, it's in my dressings, it's in my sauces, it's in my soups. I also make sure to try to change things up with the different flavors that I'm using. So miso and soy sauce, or even apple cider vinegar that contains the mother. Those are three really easy ingredients that can help you with your gut health because they contain good for you bacteria. So if you can start incorporating a little yogurt or miso or soy sauce or apple cider vinegar into your diet every day, it's a really, really simple change up, and start cutting down on the amount of sugar that you eat. So I'm a sugar fiend. I love the stuff. I have a serious addiction to it. So a few years ago, I stopped eating so much of it, and it cleared my skin. It probably cleared my gut. And I felt so much better after I made that simple change. And I think a lot of us really, we think that this is like so hard to do. But truly, once you get on the wagon and you just you get yourself on it, like more fermented foods, more veggies, less sweets. And of course, you can still have it here and there. I mean, I went to a wedding this weekend and there was a s'more bar and a candy bar and a momofuku cake and all that. But after the wedding, I was like, all right, back to planet Earth and time to eat real again. Yeah. So like it's just I'm so realistic. I love my cakes and cookies more than anyone else I know, but I do better for you versions in my cookbooks. So take it one step at a time, but also like try to get more fermented foods into your traditional Western diet.
And we can take on the philosophy of do our best every day and strive to always do better, but no, we'll never be perfect, so it's okay,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So we can be gentle
Absolutely.
with ourselves, but also
Yeah.
hard on ourselves. We should be like this the, you know, kind of a carrot and a stick, right? We should be standing behind ourselves going, get to work, and then also patting ourselves on the back. It's okay. It's not going to be perfect, but get to work.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you can essentially say, yes, like life certainly will not be perfect. As my mom says, Candice, we are not going to have a perfect life forever. And sometimes things are going to be tough and you are going to get through. But remember always when you are having a hard day, you have to say, wabi sabi. So when that time comes, Ashley, when your flight's delayed, when you get into a fender bender, when somebody ruins your day, when your schedule is completely off and you're not going to make your meeting on time, when you come out and make a meal for the family and get burnt toast or whatever it is, wabi sabi. Wabi sabi. During a demo I threw a radish under the table because something happened to it. We all laughed and we were like, wabi sabi, throw the radish under the table. Yeah. Or my speaking event, like say you trip on the stage or the clicker doesn't work or this doesn't download, wabi sabi. Let it go. Let it go. But it doesn't mean you don't do your best. It doesn't
Right.
mean you don't get back on the wagon and give it your all and continuously improve. So keep at it. And yeah, that's the Japanese way of looking through life through a different lens. They're very disciplined, they're very, very proud, and they honor those traditions. And I even have Japanese people writing to me saying, "Thank you for writing this book because we will forget who we are if we are not reminded." So now we have Japanese people. I have people all over the world. Like we're working on the copy from the Netherlands right now. So the Dutch will be reading the book next.
Nice.
Poland, Russia, China, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Czech Republic, Portugal, Brazil. All of these countries will follow and also be learning about these practices. It doesn't mean that they're better or worse than anybody else's. It just gives you a different perspective on how to live your life. And I don't know why I was chosen to be that person. I mean, I love talking to you about this because I hope that our conversation can spark and ignite a lot of different thoughts for those listening and maybe even get them on their path to figuring out life and understanding that we have way more in common than we do different, and that we all are imperfect, and we all are in this together. And life is a struggle. My God, it is not easy. I mean, I did not have anything handed to me either. I am self made from the bottom up, and I still struggle. There's certainly days where I'm like, what am I doing with my career? How am I going to survive? Like, how am I going to make rent? Like, things like this cross my mind all the time. But if I can just help one person every day of my life to be a little bit easier on themselves and to also pursue greatness, then I'm doing my job right. But I do need everyone to understand that you are certainly not alone in your struggles, and you absolutely can let up on yourself a little bit. And when you do work hard, you will see rewards come towards you, because certainly somebody is taking notes as well.
Wonderful. I love it. I'm really curious to know what could you paint the picture of what you eat on a regular day, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Sure. I mean, for basic breakfast, I love either having a half of avocado with a little bit of miso paste, sometimes lemon or apple cider vinegar, or I make like a peach smoothie. So it's like frozen peaches, spinach, a touch of apple cider vinegar, almond milk, hemp seeds, blend that all up. I can make a berry smoothie for myself, which is berries with spinach, a little bit of collagen, almond milk. I almost always add a handful of greens to every smoothie. For lunch, like sometimes I just make one big giant salad. So it's romaine or red leaf lettuce, arugula or spinach mixed with a red onion, garbanzo beans or kidney beans or adzuki beans, a little bit of cherry tomato, fresh cucumber. And then for the dressing, I always do olive oil, curry powder, sea salt, or shoyu, which is soy sauce, and a little touch of lemon or apple cider vinegar, and give that a stir or a toss. And then for dinner, it's like, say, miso glazed salmon with a side of fresh greens. It could be like sauteed broccoli rabe or cauliflower that's got some heat to it. So, like cauliflower sauteed in sriracha sauce, a tiny bit of quinoa or brown rice. And then for dessert, I almost always have like matcha cookies or a little chocolate. I love my LaCroix or LaCroix, however you say it, those sparkling waters.
Yes.
Yeah, addicted. Matcha tea every morning from Matcha Love with a little almond or hemp milk. And throughout the day, I'll drink water. And if I need to pick me up, I always turn to matcha tea or green tea, genmaicha tea, things of that nature. And I'm certainly not perfect. Like I just told you, I went to a wedding this weekend. I ate, s'mores all night, momofuku cake. And instead of having just like catered wedding, she was so creative. My old assistant got married, and I was so excited for her. She had food trucks come. So I had
Oh
pizza
my
and gyros.
gosh.
Oh my God, Ashley. This is the smartest wedding I've ever been to. Most creative. But yeah, it was amazing. I had gyros, I had falafels, wine and cheese. I mean, you can live, but you certainly can't let yourself go. So that's sort of my secret there is
Live but don't let
keep,
go.
yeah. I
Right?
mean, you don't have to hold on for dear life either. Just don't let yourself go. Yeah.
Right. Right. Totally. I heard once that Madonna keeps her body because Monday through Friday she's like super strict, and then she like just eats whatever at the all the cocktail parties all weekend long. She lets
Wow.
herself have, whatever she wants at all the hors d'oeuvres or whatever whenever she's at a party, but when she's not at a party, it's hardcore. And I like that. It was like, as long as you're not going to like a party every day, right?
Oh, of course.
Right?
Agreed. I barely ever get to go to these amazing weddings. So I really wanted to enjoy when I was there. I agree. Like, have fun and live. We all said that too when we were there. We were like, this is a wedding. Like, let's have a great time and celebrate the bride and groom.
Right, exactly, and just, enjoy that moment, it's like
Yeah,
we have to be the perfectly imperfect in that moment and be okay, and then come back to,
yeah.
okay, I'm doing my best. Sometimes the ego sometimes we don't realize the ego is running us, and the ego, like, I've
Mm.
learned this interesting thing about the ego is that it's so afraid of us failing that sometimes it doesn't want us to do our best. Because if we don't apply ourselves 100%, then we can't fail. So it's sort of like, well, why bother even starting, why bother even going out there and starting? That's kind of like the ego talking. Sometimes we think the ego's only, like, here to listen to kind of be inflated, right? But the ego is also that part of us that, like, puts us down and doesn't want us to do our best because it's afraid that we're gonna fail if we do. And so I love this wabi sabi. It's like, listen, we gotta have to psych ourselves up and have this philosophical conversation with us. Get your book, buy your book, read it, and then go, okay, I'm doing my best. And when the ego voice comes in and goes, but I don't want to, I don't want to do that because, like, I'm afraid of failing, or I'm afraid, what would people say? I think a lot of times that little inner voice goes, well, what would they think if I trip and fall on the stage? Or what do you, what I don't want to go on a new diet, or I don't want to eat this healthy way, because what if, like, I'm going to tell my friends I'm eating all these salads, but what if one day I order a cheeseburger and my friends are going to, like, put me down? It's like, you know what?
No.
We got to just wabi sabi those moments.
Yeah, wabi sabi. Just say it. My mom does it to me now like a coach.
That's
She is
awesome.
my freaking sensei. I mean, you think Karate Kid had it with what's his name?
Mr. Miyagi.
Miyagi Sensei. Yeah, I got the Kumai Sensei, and I'm slowly becoming her.
That's
And
awesome.
Kumai Sensei, when I get pissed about various parts of my job, are so frustrating. Like, much of my job is out of my control because I'm not a lawyer or a doctor or somebody who has a straight shot path, right? Go to school, get a practice, get clients. No, my job is a writer, journalist, chef turned, I guess you could say public figure. And my job is now to really share a message and inspire those who have been bogged down, who have been discriminated against, who have been hurt, who have been through the ringer, and help them to get back up. And so when I'm telling my mom about something that I'm pissed about or angry or late to the airport or whatever it is, she's like, Candice, wabi sabi. And she just starts to say it like a coach. You have to say it to yourself and let it go, because it will never be perfect. That is the one thing that we are certain of, is life is perfectly imperfect just as it is.
Yeah, take a few deep breaths and say wabi sabi a few times to yourself. Make it your little
Yes.
inner mantra. I love it. It's so beautiful. I'm so excited to read your book and to have the listeners read your book. Congratulations. I know
Oh, thanks.
you've published wonderful books, but congratulations on this. I know that you feel this is your life's work. And so very excited for all of us to support you in that and read your book and check it out. We're going to make sure the link to your books in the show notes of today's podcast. Candice, thank you so much for coming on the show, and you are welcome
Hey,
back. You're welcome back anytime you want to
oh,
come back.
Ashley, I'm so excited. And we can totally do a book giveaway with you as well. We love you and your work. You are so wonderful for sharing your message and honoring your story also. And so I really want to take a moment to acknowledge you for helping so many people. You're wonderful, and you are so beautiful because you're just confident and loving and kind. And one of my greatest hopes for the future of wellness and health and media is for more people to just be empathetic, kind, and compassionate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So thank you for offering a book. Let's do a giveaway. Our Facebook, we have a Facebook group. All the listeners are welcome to join it. It's just search Learn True Health in Facebook and join the group. And when this episode is up, I'll post it in the group, and then I'll tell people, if you want to win the book, comment, and we'll randomly choose we'll choose a number. We'll like, roll a dice or something, and choose a random comment. I'll have to get like a
Are you
220.
really gonna roll
I
dice?
don't know. I've got like, D&D dice around here somewhere. So I'll roll like 40, the 40 dice or whatever, right? And two 20s, right?
That's the first time. That's pretty funny though. Oh my God, I don't know. However you want to do it, you got to let me know if you really do roll some
I'm totally
dice.
gonna roll D&D dice. I absolutely will. We will, because we have a lot of people in the group. There's over 1,000 people in the Facebook group. So,
Wow.
so I'll have to roll some like a
Okay.
lot of dice. Like I have to get a lot of dice and roll them, and then we'll pick one, and we'll pick a person randomly, and we'll have that book sent to them. So thank you, Candice, and everyone who's listening who isn't in the Facebook group. Get in the Facebook group. I would love to see you there. Candice, you're welcome in the Facebook group too. It's great. We have great health discussions. Everyone asks questions of each other. Just this morning, we were talking about clean teapots because, the fear of a lot of these, cookware leaches heavy metals, right? And so we were on a hunt
Yeah.
this morning for some listeners for a lead-free glass teapot, and we found one and we linked it to the
Oh,
person. So yeah,
awesome.
we're all we have got discussions in there about cosmetics, and
I
people
love
just ask
that.
all kinds of questions about health stuff and products and things like that. So, and recipes, and so it's a really supportive community. Awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you, Candice. Please come back if you next time you got a book or anything, come back on the show. I'd love to have you.
Thanks, Ashley. Take good care.
You too, and wabi sabi.
Bobby Choppy.
Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic true health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.